that has honestly probably been hands down the most unexpected fun part about the Roswell Real
Yeah.
is, I mean, it has opened my network to so many people that, I probably never would have crossed paths
Mm-hmm.
with. And a lot of those being business owners. And it really is just reassuring because all these are Roswell based businesses. It is really reassuring to see the faces and the ethics and the values behind a lot of these businesses and the drive that a lot of the people have. So that just kind of through and through makes me feel reassured about, promoting Roswell, whether it's just in general from a business standpoint or, to clients looking to move here.
Yeah.
A sincere thank you to Wellstar North Fulton Medical Center for its sponsorship and for fostering a healthy community where businesses can thrive.
Welcome back to Brew Talks. I'm Steve Stroud, President and CEO of Roswell Inc. We're the economic development organization here in the city of Roswell, Georgia.
I'm Andy Williams, President and CEO of Visit Roswell, the city's official destination marketing organization charged with promoting tourism. And we've got a guest on today that I would bet a lot of people have actually seen here lately, especially on social media. This is a gentleman. We're going to dive into a couple different areas, but we are proud to welcome Jake Bouchillon on here. He's with Keller Williams, does a lot of residential real estate here in the local area. And you may know him also as the face of the Roswell Real. Does a fantastic job of telling the stories of things that are going on around here. Keeps it concise, but he's very thorough. And I've seen much success with that. Jake, it's a pleasure having you on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks for having
cheers.
me.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
I remember when we met at Crazy Love.
I didn't even believe you remembered that.
Oh, I absolutely remember that.
That was a lifetime ago.
Yeah, your aunt and uncle, as in-law, and I'll call them in-laws, not outlaws because they're great people. Mary and Chris Good did the introduction.
That's right.
And Mary and I served on NFCC board.
That's right.
Together. Love the Goods and love their daughter. That's so great family.
Amazing family.
And introduced us, and you said, "Hey, he's going in the real estate business. I think you need to meet him." And Mary was like, "You need to meet him." And I was like, "Yeah." And we met at Crazy Love.
Here we are, full circle, right?
Full circle.
That's pretty cool.
It is full circle. And like Andy said, it's pretty cool that you've moved your family here, grew up South Forsyth, and now you're here. You're in the real estate business. But I think one of the themes that we've talked about recently a lot about is Choose Roswell, right? And we're kicking off the Atlas, which we appreciate your participation in.
Absolutely.
You're going to hear a lot more about that in the coming weeks. But I think the really cool thing about it is that you've jumped into both feet. Like you just ask the questions, and as Roswell Real, whether it's a piece of property, what's going on with that, you go dig in and find out and get the right information, or restaurant weeks and how to use the new app when it was last January.
Yeah.
I mean, just some really cool stuff. So tell us, how did you, not everybody jumps in like that.
I appreciate that. I would say it probably started with my own curiosity, living in the area, driving around. I run a lot. So, I'm seeing.
I do see you on the street too. I got the big white Pyrenees off Canton Street.
That's right. Yeah, I do pass you. Holler at me next time.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. So, I like my own curiosity, kind of wanted to dig into some of these projects, try to figure out what's going on. And a lot of my, residential real estate work it's important to know those things as well, right? To be able to speak to what's coming, where the development's coming. So it was a lot of work I was doing behind the scenes regardless. And then what I started to realize is that a lot of the information is out there, the information behind what's coming, these developments, community events. It's just kind of sometimes hard to find.
Right.
So, as I was doing that research, I was like, maybe some people would appreciate just trying to consolidate this and put it in one place. So it's a little bit easier to find, and it's delivered where, people are already spending their time. I'm primarily on Instagram. So yeah, started posting some videos. People were so generous with their feedback and kind words. So have continued to try to do that. I'm one person, so I do as much as I possibly can. and hopefully, want to continue to grow and get better and be able to put out more content for people just to keep everybody in the loop on what's going on.
Well, I was going to, hit on that too, because you mentioned you're one person, then you've obviously got your real estate business going and the work that entails.
Yeah.
And we know how much, work it takes to edit these podcasts. Even.
Right. Absolutely.
And when you go in there and you're showing the interactivity of it and walking people through different steps, or maybe you're showing renderings of upcoming developments and things of that nature, to your point, you've got to go dig that up. You've got to put it together. You've got to edit it. You got to make it look good. Then you got to figure out how to cut it down into, digestible. You got short attention, with people nowadays. So it seems like that's a lot of work on you. Is it just work-life balance? I mean, do you have particular times of the week that you dedicate to the Roswell Real, or is it real, or is it just kind of a la carte as it comes?
That's a good question. So real estate is pretty cyclical, but I've been doing this long enough to where business is always pretty consistent. Mm-hmm. But when we are in a slower seasonal market, it is easier for me to manage and pick up more outside of just the business itself. Mm-hmm. I saw it initially. To generate business, I used to do a lot of cold outreach to people in Roswell.
Yeah.
With call screening and everything like that, things started to slow down. So I almost replaced that prospecting time with, the general promotion in real estate is typically, hey, I just sold this property, or I just listed this property. That's awesome, but it doesn't really add a lot of value to people. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to try to figure out something that I could do that would, kind of exemplify the type of person or type of agent that I want to be, which is, hardworking, knows the market,
That's
is
right.
consistent. Mm-hmm. So this kind of became like the platform in which I wanted to, show those qualities.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So basically, to answer your question shortly, I replaced a lot of my prospecting time with, starting to build out the Roswell Real.
Yeah.
It has, transparently, it can be difficult sometimes to kind of juggle the real estate and the Roswell Real. So I am at somewhat of like an inflection point where I do need to bring on some more leverage, probably. And I say leverage in the best way. I need a rock star assistant on the real estate side to help me with some of the more like administrative tasks, so I can be out doing what I think what provides the most value to people in the community, and then continues or keeps me open to be able to do the valuable work for real estate clients as well.
Right.
Well, which is really cool. Yeah. And Andy hit on something, it's work-life balance. You got 2 little ones, 3 and 4, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a handful in itself. We were talking about it earlier. But we were talking about in general about what the market looks like. And I know people ask you all the time. But one of the things that used to be the buzzword was, I listed it, or I sold it, or I farm this particular neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like you farm a lot of Roswell, so not just one particular area.
Yeah, so I think that's ultimately the goal. And I think our businesses are similar in a sense.
Yeah,
I think the best way to add value as a real estate agent is to niche down. That's and to be an area expert. Because you guys are Roswell Inc. If you were Georgia Inc., it would be a lot harder to make the impact that you guys have, because you have clearly made a huge impact on Roswell.
Thank you.
So ultimately, I am, as I continue to mature in this business, that's what I'm looking to become. I'm looking to become the go-to guy. And obviously there's other real estate agents here in Roswell that do an unbelievable job, and they've done that. And some of them are inspiration to me. So, I want to continue to build out my area knowledge, expertise, so that when I am working with Roswell residents, I truly feel like, I am bringing value above and beyond, your, I don't say average in a bad way, but your average, more generalist real estate agent.
Yeah.
One of the things that we always did at the printing company, we had a lot of real estate agents, because in the day you printed the flyers, you put them out, you went to different offices, people put them in, in their mailboxes in the office. Those days are long gone, right? But one of the things that always intrigued me about agents was the percentage that are not full-time.
Yep.
right? It's amazing. More than half of the agents, at least in the Atlanta market, I think it's even more than half, are just part-time. So they only do 1 or 2 houses a year.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Like really part-time.
Yeah, really part-time.
Yeah, I think the stat is it's pretty wild. And this is why I jumped into real estate. I told you I worked with UPS previously.
Yeah.
When I left,
Corporate guy.
When I left. You know,
You were done.
I didn't try to juggle both because at the end of the day, like if you're not in real estate full time, you're doing somebody a disservice, whether it's, you know, the company you're working for or the clients that you're working for. So, you know, I wanted to make sure that when I was working with anybody, you know, they were getting all of me.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know,
that's exactly right.
So that's awesome. Well, let me ask you the question too. Young family, you guys have been here for several years now. And obviously being on the real estate side, you get to interact with a lot of different types of potential clients, and those who are relocating to Roswell. Maybe they're just moving around throughout Roswell. And, you know, we've got young children as well. I mentioned we're in Brookfield, and I would imagine you're seeing just this influx of just all different types of families. And you know, Roswell, you know, back in the day this was the executive community. This is where a lot of business, you know, C-suite, CEOs, whatever the case, very successful people live. And now what we're seeing is there is an influx of younger families, or perhaps there are families that have moved away, but now they're moving back in. Maybe they grew up here. What's the profile look like of the types of clients you're servicing?
Yeah, it's pretty diverse.
Yeah, I bet.
Which is great because I get to see all the different, you know, life phases. I'm at a point now where I've been able to kind of work with people now on a couple different sales. So it's nice, you know, just given my age, I do work with a lot of first-time home buyers, and a lot of people want to be here. But the traditional way of moving into Roswell, especially as your first house, is very difficult given the price point. So, you know, having the area knowledge and knowing the path of progress and places that you can get to where, you know, maybe things aren't there yet, but they're moving towards you. You know, that's kind of what it's been like for the younger families that are, you know, trying to get here and establish somewhat of a foothold. And then of course, you know, through, you know, the goods have introduced me to a great network, networks like that. You know, you do a good job for one of those individuals and it kind of spider webs from there. You work with their friends and then their friends, and it kind of goes downstream.
Yeah, that referral piece goes forever. And, you know, we always talk about relationships. You and I talked about relationships not that long ago. The importance of those relationships. Ashley always says this is the smallest 100,000 resident town that really still acts like a very small town. People want to do business here with each other. They want to know, this is half the reason we created the Atlas was so that people could say, hey, where do I go find this? Right? Not just Google, because anybody can Google. But who are some trusted vendors in the city that I can use or find an attorney or a CPA, or whether it's business to business or consumer to business, you know?
And I gotta say, that has honestly probably been hands down the most unexpected fun part about the Roswell Real. Is, I mean, it has opened my network to so many people that, you know, I probably never would have crossed paths with. And a lot of those being business owners. And it really is just reassuring, because all these are Roswell based businesses. It is really reassuring to see the faces and the ethics and the values behind a lot of these businesses and the drive that a lot of the people have. So that just kind of through and through makes me feel reassured about, you know, promoting Roswell, whether it's just in general from a business standpoint or, you know, to clients looking to move here.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's awesome. What do you see as the area, you know, as we look at housing? There's always the conversation about there's never enough housing. Seems to be, as an economic developer, I will say, that's across the country. Every community's faced with this. What are you seeing as the shortages? We've talked about lots. Obviously, there's not a lot of empty green space lots in Roswell, but there's not a lot of to be scraped lots available anymore.
That's right.
Right.
You know, there's I was mentioning earlier about trying to find the right pockets, the pockets that haven't necessarily been fully discovered yet.
Yeah.
And, you know, Roswell,
Unearthed.
Roswell for the most part is fully discovered.
That's
there
right.
are, you know, there's a few, and this is where it goes hand in hand with trying to understand the development and where, you know, the transportation is being improved, what, you know, nearby commercial developments are coming,
Sure.
where the money is being invested. So I think there's some really good, we just mentioned Thompson Circle, Thompson Place.
Yep.
A lot of that is kind of sold out at this point. So
Yeah.
where are the next spots? You know, personally, I like just north, not far from where we are now, just north of Highway 9, you know, up Warsaw. There's some, you know, old ranches over there that could use some love, whether it's, you know, renovating, whether it's renovating those as they stand now, or, you know, building something new, because sometimes that, you know, if something's hasn't been taken care of over the years, sometimes that's the next best route.
More economical. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of opportunity over off of like Old Alabama as well, with the east to west Roswell connection going
Big Creek going in.
I mean, I think there's a lot of connectivity improvement. That's what I have to be most excited about. I think Roswell has so many different areas that are excellent in their own regard.
Right.
And right now they're not super connected, but there is a really good plan out there, I think, to make that happen. So that's what I'm excited. I'm excited to see kind of everything connected and come together.
I love it. What are you seeing? We track visitation behavioral patterns. We understand why people love coming to Roswell from that in that capacity. Steve knows it from a business relocation, whatever the case. What are you seeing as the top 3 drivers or the top 3 most appealing, you know, descriptors or, you know, things that people are drawn to about this community for relocation on the residential side?
That's a great question. I would say kids are important to people,
right?
And kids go to school.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
we got great schools here.
Yeah.
So it's schools has to be in that top 3, both public and private.
Right. True.
You know,
Exactly.
we got great private schools as well. Parks and just opportunities that come along with the parks, whether that's sports or, and then, you know, Canton Street is tough not to hear a lot. A lot of people, you know, come here, they whether it's a Alive in Roswell event and kind of discover Canton Street that way and said, you know, I wouldn't mind doing this every day. So, you know, just the restaurants and business and hospitality, as well as just, you know, the overall feel here. It's very community. We talked about it feeling small.
Small town.
So
it's
I
funny
think
you mentioned Canton Street too, because we hear that so many times that, oh my gosh, my husband and I, or my spouse and I, or, you know, my parents and I stumbled upon Canton Street and took a stroll. And the next thing I know, 3 months later, you know, we're setting down roots, whether it's from the business side or the residential side.
We hear it all
Canton
the time.
Street is a big influencer. It actually works on influencing companies to relocate too. And we understand that Canton Street is just a very small, you know, portion of our 42 square miles, whatever we are.
Yes.
But it's got a big impact for sure.
It does.
People love the walkability.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the idea of being able to live somewhere and, you know, whenever you're feeling up for it, walk out and get a cup of coffee or, you know, a nice meal. That is in real estate or just in the way people like to live. That's a very valuable thing right
100%.
now.
Quality of life.
Yep.
Quality of life.
Yeah.
If you think about it, for generations, people lived very close to each other. They had the accessibility, like you said, to the park across the street. They could go downstairs and get their laundry done. They could go over to the bakery, pick up fresh fruits and go to the market.
Exactly.
And they were back home. And I think there's huge desire for that.
And there's always going to be, I mean, to pick your day, pretty much some sort of event taking place, you know, and again, whether it's the farmer's market or it's an Alive or it's an art festival. I mean, you have activations even that are taking place within, for example, Southern Post and private developments and things like that. So there's always something to do. And that close proximity not only makes us, you know, a hot spot, obviously, and a favorite with our own residents, but a favorite for visitors that are coming in from other communities too.
Exactly. It's a lot to keep up with.
It is really.
But we are passionate about it, and we appreciate your passion, Jake. It comes out in your reels, and I know every time you post, Amy's like, "Hey, you gotta go watch this. You gotta go watch this," because you really do a good job. So,
no pressure, right?
No pressure.
Right, there you go.
No pressure at all. No pressure at all. But Jake, thanks for coming on today.
Absolutely.
We
Thanks for
appreciate
having
all
me.
you're doing for the city and for the community and for those 2 little ones that are growing up here.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
someday they'll be sitting in my chair, being
Hopefully
able to
so.
do an interview, right?
Hopefully so.
All right. As we always say, it's a great day to do business in Roswell. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks,
y'all.
Jake.
Thanks for having me.